Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about something that is silently stealing your dreams. It's not lack of talent, it's not lack of resources, it's not even lack of time. It's procrastination. That habit of saying, I'll do it tomorrow, when tomorrow never comes. That silent delay has kept more people from greatness than failure ever did. Because failure at least means you tried. Procrastination, it means you let life pass by. But the good news is this procrastination is not who you are. It's a habit. And like any habit, it can be destroyed, replaced, and rebuilt. So today, I'm going to give you 3 powerful steps to completely destroy procrastination and unlock the momentum you've been craving. Procrastination is rarely about laziness. Most people aren't sitting around doing nothing because they don't care. They care deeply, but they're stuck in hesitation because their vision isn't sharp. Think about it. When was the last time you woke up excited with so much clarity about what you needed to do that nothing could distract you? On those days, you don't need motivation, you don't need someone to push you because you already know exactly where you're headed. That's the power of clarity. It erases hesitation. It destroys procrastination at its core. When your goals are vague, your actions become vague. If all you say to yourself is, I want to be successful, your brain doesn't know what that really means. Success in what? Success by when? Success measured how? Without a target, your mind drifts, and in that drift, procrastination takes over. But when you sharpen that desire into something specific, I want to write the first draft of my book by October 1st, or I will earn $10,000 in sales this quarter. Suddenly, the path starts to reveal itself. You don't just have a dream, you have a direction. Clarity brings urgency. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain and saying, one day, I want to climb this. That dream is nice, but it doesn't move you. Now imagine saying, at 6 a.m. tomorrow, I'm climbing to the top of that mountain and I'll be there by noon. Do you feel the difference? Your body starts preparing, your mind starts mapping the path, and your energy rises. That's the magic of clarity. It forces your brain to organize itself around a target, and procrastination has no room to breathe. Most people procrastinate not because they can't act, but because they don't know which action matters most. They drown in endless options. They scroll, they dabble, they plan without moving because they never stop to decide what's essential. Clarity is ruthless. It demands that you choose. And once you choose, you cut away the noise. That cutting away is the birthplace of productivity. Think of an archer with a bow and arrow. If the target is blurry, they hesitate. They adjust, they fumble, they second guess. But when the bullseye is clear, they draw back with confidence and release. You need to give your life a bullseye. Not 10 targets, not a vague horizon, one bullseye at a time. When you see it clearly, you don't stall, you shoot. Clarity also answers the most dangerous question procrastination whispers. Why does it matter? If your goal isn't tied to a deep reason, procrastination wins every time. Why wake up early if you don't care? Why push through the discomfort if the outcome doesn't light you up? But when you know your why, your energy changes. If the project you're avoiding isn't just a task, but the doorway to the life you've dreamed of, you stop delaying. You start moving. Your why makes procrastination irrelevant. One of the most effective ways to gain clarity is to write it down. Don't just keep your goals in your head. They get fuzzy up there. Put them on paper where you can see them. Make them specific, measurable, and urgent. I will lose weight is weak. I will lose 15 pounds in the next 90 days by running 3 times a week and tracking my meals is clarity. And when you read that every day, procrastination shrinks because your brain can't argue with what's clear. Clarity is not only about what you want, but also about what you don't want. Many people procrastinate because they're secretly working on things that don't matter to them. They chase goals someone else handed them, so their heart resists. True clarity is alignment. Your goals must match your values. When they do, action feels natural. You don't have to drag yourself into it. You're pulled forward. Every minute you spend without clarity is a minute procrastination multiplies. It grows in the fog. But the moment you define your vision, procrastination weakens. So if you want to stop delaying, don't beat yourself up, don't label yourself lazy. Just sharpen the picture. Ask yourself, what exactly do I want? Why do I want it? When will I have it done? Write it, see it, own it. Because once you do, procrastination doesn't stand a chance. Procrastination loves low energy. It sneaks in when you feel tired, foggy, or drained. Think about the days when you've been exhausted. You knew what needed done. You may have even written it down, but your body said, not now, later. And later turned into tomorrow. tomorrow into next week, and before you know it, the moment was gone. It's not that you didn't want to do the work. It's that your energy betrayed you. That's why destroying procrastination is not just about mindset, it's about mastering your energy. Because when your energy rises, your ability to act rises with it. Energy is not something you wait for, it's something you generate. Most people wait for a magical burst of motivation, as if lightning will strike and suddenly they'll feel like working. But champions don't wait for lightning. They create the spark, they decide to move, and that movement builds momentum. The body drives the mind more than most people realize. If you want your brain to light up, you have to get your body in motion. Procrastination feeds on stillness. Action, even a small one, is how you starve it. Think about mornings. When you wake up sluggish, grab your phone, scroll through endless feeds, and let the day drift into you. You're already defeated. Your energy is set at a low frequency, and procrastination has free rein. But when you wake up, move your body, hydrate, breathe deeply, and set intention, suddenly you're sharper. You don't have to push yourself as hard because your energy is carrying you forward. That is not coincidence, that is biology. The way you treat your body determines the power your mind has to execute. Nutrition plays a role too. Procrastination thrives when you're living off sugar spikes, caffeine overloads, and processed junk. Your body crashes, your brain fogs, and every task feels 10 times heavier. But when you fuel yourself with clean, energizing foods, hydration, proteins, healthy carbs, real nutrients, your system stabilizes, you can focus longer, push harder, and act faster. If you want to kill procrastination, you can't neglect the machine you're running it on. Energy is also about how you transition between tasks. One of the greatest mistakes people make is dragging low energy from one moment into the next. You finish a long meeting, and instead of shaking it off, you slump into the next task with the same drained state. By the third task, your energy is gone and procrastination whispers, just put it off. But high performers understand transitions. They reset. Before they enter the next activity, they pause, breathe, stretch, and choose to bring new energy. They don't let the last task poison the next one. You can do the same. Create small rituals between tasks, stand up, move around, drink water. Affirm your intention. It only takes 60 seconds to reset, but that reset can save your entire day. Procrastination is not just a battle of willpower, it's a battle of state. When you're in a low state, everything feels overwhelming. Sending an email feels like climbing a mountain. Making a phone call feels like running a marathon. But when your energy is high, the same tasks feel effortless. What changed? Not the task, your state. That means if you master your energy, you master your action. Sleep is another key. You can't outthink or out-discipline chronic exhaustion. If you're running on 4 hours of sleep, procrastination wins by default. Your brain will find 1,000 reasons to delay because it literally doesn't have the capacity to focus. The fastest way to improve your productivity isn't another hack, it's honoring your sleep. 8 hours of real rest can give you back more focus than any motivational video ever could. Here's the truth: procrastination thrives on weakness, and weakness comes from low energy. If you want to beat it, you need to treat your body like a performance vehicle, not an afterthought. Move daily, eat consciously, hydrate constantly, sleep fully, and reset often. Energy is not a luxury, it's the fuel of execution. And without execution, your dreams stay on paper. So the next time you feel procrastination creeping in, don't just ask, "Why am I delaying?" Ask, "Where's my energy right now?" Stand up, breathe, move, reset, and decide to generate power in that moment. Because the moment you lift your energy, you lift your life. And procrastination has no chance against that force. Most people lose to procrastination not because they don't care, but because they rely on willpower alone. They wait for motivation to strike, as if one magical morning they'll suddenly feel unstoppable. But that day rarely comes. Motivation is inconsistent. Willpower is fragile. The people who get things done don't rely on either. They build triggers for action. They set up their environment, their routines, and their accountability so that action becomes automatic. If you want to destroy procrastination, you have to stop waiting for motivation and start designing your life so that taking action is the natural next step. Think about it. How often have you told yourself, "I'll get to it when I feel ready"? But readiness is a lie. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. The brain loves comfort. It will always look for the easier path. That's why you need triggers, things that force you forward before your brain has time to negotiate. A trigger can be as simple as setting an alarm, laying out your workout clothes the night before, putting your phone in another room. These are cues that nudge you into action before procrastination can even whisper. Our environment is shaping us every second, whether we realize it or not. If your desk is cluttered, your phone is buzzing, and your schedule is vague, procrastination wins. But if your workspace is clean, your phone is out of reach, and your calendar is blocked with exact times, action becomes easier. Environment is not neutral. It's either pulling you forward or pulling you back. The highest achievers know this, so they design their space for progress. They don't leave their success to chance, they engineer it. Triggers also come from structure. A to-do list with 20 random items is overwhelming. Your brain doesn't know where to start, so it stalls. But when you schedule a task for a specific time, it becomes a trigger. If your calendar says 900 Tanhano sein, write first draft, then at 900 the trigger is activated. It's no longer a vague wish, it's an appointment. And you wouldn't skip a meeting with your boss, so why skip the meeting with your future self? Scheduling is a trigger that turns intentions into commitments. Another powerful trigger is accountability. Left alone, you can justify delay. But when you tell someone your deadline, procrastination loses its grip. Suddenly, it's not just about you. It's about keeping your word. Humans are wired to follow through when others are watching. That's why athletes perform better in competition than in practice. That's why study groups help students stay on track. Accountability is one of the most effective triggers you can create because it ties your action to your integrity. Deadlines are another form of trigger, and not the kind that stretch into the distant future. The further away the deadline, the weaker the trigger. The closer and bolder the deadline, the stronger it becomes. If you tell yourself, I'll finish this project someday this month, procrastination laughs. But if you say, I will send this report by 5:00 p.m. today, your brain sharpens. Time pressure becomes a trigger for focus. This is why people cram the night before an exam. They finally created a real trigger. The key is not to wait until the last minute, but to set bold deadlines for yourself long before. Triggers also come in the form of habits. Imagine you had a ritual that every morning at the same time you sat down to write no excuses. Over time, your brain wouldn't need to negotiate anymore. The habit itself becomes the trigger. That's how musicians practice daily, how athletes train, how professionals build momentum. They don't ask, should I do this? They've built a system that says, it's time to do this. Habits are self-reinforcing triggers, and once they're in place, procrastination doesn't stand a chance. What stops most people isn't the task itself, it's the gap between intention and action. That gap is where procrastination lives. Triggers close the gap. They remove the hesitation by pulling you into motion. And once you're in motion, you don't need as much willpower anymore. Starting is the hardest part, but once you start, momentum carries you. That's why the smartest way to beat procrastination isn't to wait for more discipline, it's to create more triggers. So look at your life right now. Where are your triggers? What in your environment, your schedule, your relationships, your habits is pulling you into action instead of delay? If you can't find any, that's why procrastination has been winning. But you can change that today. One bold trigger, a deadline, a commitment, a public promise, a blocked calendar, a redesigned workspace can shift everything. Because the moment you create a trigger, you've made action inevitable. And procrastination can't survive inevitability. One of the greatest illusions procrastination creates is the idea that nobody's watching, so it doesn't matter if we delay. When the only person we're answering to is ourselves, it's easy to justify excuses. We say, I'll do it tomorrow, and no one calls us out. We hit snooze, skip the workout, push off the project, and because there's no immediate consequence, we get away with it. But here's the truth. Your dreams don't suffer because of what you can't do. They suffer because of what you allow yourself to delay. And the fastest way to end that cycle is accountability. Accountability destroys procrastination because it adds weight to your commitments. It makes them real, urgent, and visible. Think about how people show up differently when others are counting on them. If you promised your friend you'd meet them at the gym at 6 a.m., you're far less likely to stay in bed. Why? Because now it's not just your comfort on the line, it's your word, your integrity, your relationship. Humans are wired to follow through when others are involved. We care about keeping our promises. We don't want to look weak or unreliable. That natural instinct, when used wisely, can become your greatest weapon against procrastination. This is why deadlines at work feel heavier than personal goals. When your boss sets a due date, you may not like the task, but you'll finish it. Why? Because someone else is expecting it. That expectation creates pressure, and pressure creates action. But when it's just you trying to write your book, start your business, or launch that idea, the pressure isn't there. You delay because no one knows, no one's asking, and no one's watching. That's why you have to create accountability even when it doesn't naturally exist. Accountability doesn't just mean telling someone what you're going to do. It means creating a system where your commitments are visible and measurable. If you want to run a marathon, sign up for the race, put money down, tell your friends, post about it. Suddenly your procrastination has a cost. If you don't train, you'll not only let yourself down, you'll let others down too. And that weight will push you to act on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Some people resist accountability because they don't want the pressure. But the pressure is the point. Pressure is what turns intention into action. Without pressure, comfort takes over. With pressure, you rise. Think about every major growth in your life. It came when the stakes were higher, when someone was expecting more from you, when failure meant embarrassment or consequence. That pressure didn't crush you, it made you stronger. Accountability is simply choosing to create that pressure on purpose instead of waiting for life to force it on you. The most powerful form of accountability is public commitment. When you tell the world what you're going to do, procrastination becomes dangerous. If you say, I'm writing a book and only you know you can delay forever. But if you announce, my book will be out by December 1st, now you've got an audience waiting. Your reputation is tied to your action. And reputation is a strong motivator. You don't want to be the person who says one thing and does another. Public accountability forces you to rise to the level of your word. Accountability can also come from mentorship, coaching, or peer groups. The people who grow the fastest are the ones surrounded by others who hold them to a higher standard. A coach doesn't let you skip practice. A mastermind group doesn't let you drift without progress. A mentor doesn't let you settle for excuses. These external forces keep you aligned with your goals when your own willpower starts to fade. Surround yourself with people who expect your best, and procrastination won't stand a chance. But accountability isn't only about others, it's also about you becoming someone who values their own word. When you keep promises to yourself, your confidence grows. When you break them, your trust in yourself erodes. Every time you delay, you're teaching yourself that your word doesn't matter. Every time you follow through, you're building an identity of discipline and integrity. Accountability starts with others, but it ends with you becoming someone who doesn't need external pressure because your own standards are high enough. So the question is simple: who knows about your goals? Who's holding you to them? Who's asking you if you showed up today? If the answer is no one, then procrastination will always find an open door. But the moment you close that door with accountability, whether through a friend, a coach, a public promise, or your own unshakable integrity, you cut procrastination off at its source. Because procrastination thrives in the dark, but accountability drags it into the light. And in the light, it cannot survive. One of the most damaging lies people believe is that procrastination defines who they are. They say things like, I'm just lazy, or that's just the way I am. I always put things off. They take a temporary habit and stamp it onto their identity. But procrastination is not who you are. It's simply something you've been practicing. And the beautiful truth is that habits can be broken, rebuilt, and replaced. Your identity is far bigger than your delays. Think about when you were a child. You weren't born a procrastinator. You didn't come into the world saying, I'll crawl tomorrow, I'll walk next week. No, you moved with instinct, with curiosity, with urgency. You wanted to explore, to try, to grow. That was your natural state. Procrastination crept in later through conditioning, fear, and repetition. Somewhere along the line, you started hesitating, avoiding, delaying, and you repeated that pattern enough that it became familiar. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's you. Every time you say, I'm a procrastinator, you strengthen the chains holding you back. You give power to the delay by making it a part of your self-image. And once something becomes identity, it becomes harder to change. That's why you must separate the behavior from who you are. You are not procrastination. You are not laziness. You are not avoidance. Those are choices you've made, patterns you've practiced, states you've lived in. But at any moment, you can choose differently, and when you do, your life shifts. Think about people who used to be chronic procrastinators but became high achievers. What changed? Their DNA? No. Their identity. They stopped saying, I'm the type of person who puts things off, and started saying, I'm the type of person who gets things done. And then they began aligning their actions with that new identity. Behavior follows belief. When you believe you're someone who acts quickly, you start proving yourself right with every decision. When you believe you're someone who delays, you'll unconsciously keep delaying to stay consistent with that belief. The secret is to stop labeling yourself by your past actions. Just because you delayed yesterday doesn't mean you have to delay today. Just because you avoided a task last week doesn't mean you have to avoid it this week. Your past does not define you. It only informs you. Procrastination is simply feedback. It's a signal that something is off. Maybe you lack clarity. Maybe your energy is low. Maybe you haven't created triggers or accountability. But it's never a verdict on who you are. It's just a symptom of something you can change. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with all your old delays, excuses, and failures. Every time you say, "That's just who I am," you strap that backpack tighter. But you don't have to keep carrying it. You can drop it today. You can decide that procrastination is something you once did, not something you are. You can rewrite your story in real time. And once you change the story, the actions begin to follow. One of the fastest ways to break the identity of procrastination is to create small wins. If you've been delaying for weeks, don't tell yourself you're going to transform overnight. Instead, take one small action right now. Send that email, make that call. Write that page. Clean that desk. Do something, anything. That proves to yourself, I take action. The moment you do, you're not just completing a task, you're rewriting your identity. You're showing yourself evidence that you are not bound by procrastination. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. If you act once, it's a signal. If you act repeatedly, it becomes a habit. And if you act consistently, it becomes your identity. That's the process of transformation. You don't need to wait until you feel like a new person. You become a new person by acting like one. So stop calling yourself a procrastinator. Stop wearing delay like a badge. Procrastination is not who you are. It's just something you've practiced. And if you practiced it long enough to get good at it, imagine what would happen if you practiced action, urgency, and consistency instead. You'd become unstoppable. Because your true identity is not in your hesitation. It's in your potential. And the moment you choose to claim it, procrastination no longer defines you. Procrastination is not stronger than you. It's not who you are. It's just a habit you've carried for too long. And habits can be destroyed. The formula is simple. Get crystal clear on what you want, generate the energy to pursue it, set bold triggers that force action, create accountability that pulls you forward, and remember always, delay is not your identity. You are capable, you are powerful, you are built for progress. So the next time procrastination whispers, do it tomorrow, you already know the answer. You stand up, you take the step, you build momentum, and you prove to yourself once again that your dreams are worth acting on now. Not later, not someday now. Because your future is waiting, and it belongs to the person who refuses to delay any longer.